The air in the Galactic Senate chamber was thick with dust and disdain. High above the floor, tiered balconies held representatives of 1,000 worlds, jeweled in sashes, skins, or circuitry, each more indifferent than the last. In the center stood a single weathered figure, hunched, scarred, armor scuffed from battles no one bothered to remember. Coral Threx cleared his throat, the old war wound in his lungs crackling with effort. His eyes scanned the tiers. Few looked back. One Yeldrathi delegate snorted and turned to whisper to his aide. Another simply adjusted his translation node and closed his second eyelid. I served during the Rojari insurgency, Coral began. His voice was gravel dragged across stone. 7 cycles. 11 campaigns. I watched 5 of your colonies burn from the inside. And I fought beside the Terrans. A wave of polite apathy washed over the chamber. I was there when we first conscripted them, he continued. They were under-equipped, barely trained, confused by our language. But when the enemy cornered us at Grada Pass, it was the humans who held the line. With knives. Their teeth even. I saw one chew through a Rojari commander's throat. A chuckle from the balcony. Charming! They make great pets, a delegate muttered. Coral didn't smile. They're not pets. They're predators. You treat them like cannon fodder because they bleed like us. But they don't break like us. You've mistaken obedience for loyalty. A pause. Silence, not respect, boredom. Then came the gavel tap of the speaker unit. Your time is concluded, Coral Threx. We thank you for your colorful recollection. Next petitioner. You've changed something you don't understand, Coral said louder now. And one day, the cage will break. No response. The doors closed behind him. Commander Jackson Reese stood at the viewing window of the dropship Ashdrake, hands clasped behind his back. Below, the surface of Veltrax 2 unfurled like a bruise, jungle-choked valleys and rotting purple fog. Thunderclouds flared with static lightning. An endless storm brewed beneath the atmosphere's crusted haze. Behind him, the Earth-born auxiliaries strapped into metal benches. No chatter. Just the soft clack of weapons checks and the occasional hiss of stimulants being injected. The soldiers were lean, eyes hard, armor patched with cloth, bone, or welded scrap. Reese turned as the data drone hovered in. It projected the briefing into the air with a high-pitched buzz. An alien voice narrated. Operation Ember Root. Human detachment will advance 2 clicks ahead of Imperial infantry to flush out resistance. No air support available. Tactical priority, expendable asset screening. Reese muttered. Of course. He stepped into the aisle. The men looked up. We're first in, he said. Again. No maps. No recon. Just us, a jungle full of xenoghosts, and High Command watching to see if the animals learn to juggle. A few soldiers cracked grins. One tugged at the dog tags woven through his sleeve like trophies. Another spat a red seed onto the floor. Same rules, Reese continued. Keep your spacing. Use scent bombs. We're ghosts until we hit resistance, then we're nightmares. No screaming, no retreating, no calling for evac. He paused. They call us apes. Fine. Let's remind them why the jungle still belongs to us. The pod doors hissed open, and the jungle rushed in like a living thing, humid, rank, loud with alien insect calls. Reese crouched low, rifle up, scanning. His boots sank an inch into sponge moss. Motion sensors flickered. Readings were erratic, heat signatures everywhere, shapes melting into one another like ghosts in a fever dream. His comm crackled. Commander, this is Scout 3. We've got movement, far left ridge. Fast. 4-legged. Armor plating. Engage only if approached, Reese ordered. We are not here to start a war. We're here to survive one. Within 20 minutes, they found the first sign of ambush. Tripwire made of local vine, pulsing with bioluminescent spores. Primitive but deadly. Reese gestured. 2 men slinked forward, disabling it with surgical precision. But the resistance was ready. Plasma fire burst from the treeline. 3 of Reese's men dropped instantly. The others scattered into the brush, vanishing like smoke. That's when the hunt began. Grand Marshal Vyrek Saran surveyed the battlefield from his hover chariot, flanked by a dozen aides. The alien officers had only just begun their descent when the Imperial scouts reported back. "Enemy position neutralized," the officer stammered. "No Earthborn casualties. Target site incinerated." "Incinerated?" Vyrek narrowed his gaze. "Bodies dismembered. Some flayed. Terran units used jungle flora as weapons. Lured them into a natural predator nest and sealed the escape route. Efficient, brutal. Local fauna are adapting to their tactics." A moment passed. Vyrek descended onto the battlefield. The site reeked of scorched vegetation and blood. The enemy's command squad was arranged in a circle, limbs bound in a ritual display, clearly a message. One of the alien aides turned pale and vomited. Reese appeared from the mist. His armor was coated in moss and blood. He nodded politely. "Marshal, you disobeyed your orders," Vyrek said sharply. "You were to flush them, not execute ritual terror." "We encountered resistance," Reese replied. "We adapted." "You used fire." Reese didn't blink. "They screamed longer that way." "Sent a message." Vyrek took a step forward. "Your animals." Reese shrugged. "No, sir. Animals run. We stalk." The marshal turned without another word. The Earthborns set camp. No tents. Just crude barriers and mud pits laced with vine trigger snares. Reese sat alone, cleaning his weapon. A small drone zipped toward him and dropped a data chip in his hand. No markings. He inserted it into his portable reader. A message played, grainy, flickering. The face of an old alien warrior appeared, Coral Threx. "They won't stop until they erase you," Coral rasped. "You've proven too much. I tried to warn them. Now I warn you. They'll call it an accident. A misfire. But they will come. Prepare." The message ended. Reese looked up. His men were sharpening blades, boiling insect husks for protein. One soldier carved the Earth emblem into his arm with quiet reverence. The jungle echoed around them, unbothered, ancient, hungry. Reese exhaled. "They're not ready." The dawn on Veltrax stew wasn't golden. It bled violet through the fog, its weak light filtered by fungal clouds and spore-heavy air. The jungle didn't wake, it simply never slept. There was always something moving, feeding, watching. Commander Reese crouched by a mound of pulsing vegetation, eyes on the trail ahead. Every leaf glistened like glass. The deeper they moved, the more it felt alive. Not in a romantic, Earth-like way. This place noticed. Behind him, his men advanced in absolute silence. Their uniforms were smeared with sap and dirt, helmets fitted with homemade filters. The air was thick with microscopic predators. One wrong breath and your lungs could rot out. Reese raised his hand, halt. His scout, Valdez, slid up beside him. "Thermals picking up motion. Multiple signatures, high and low. 10 degrees west. Ambush formation. Spread, maintain visual." Reese moved, low and fluid. His body knew the rhythm by now, step, scan, stillness. Even his heartbeat had adjusted, slowing to a hunter's cadence. Within minutes, they reached a ridge of twisted roots. He knelt, optics zooming. Enemy fighters. Dozens. Waiting in the undergrowth. Camouflage netting, low-emission weapons, motionless, but not invisible. "Not to them," Valdez whispered. "They're good." Reese nodded. "But not hungry." The trap was sprung the moment Reese's team triggered a false trail. A planted sound emitter activated 30 meters east, just enough to lure the enemy into motion. They didn't see the Terrans until it was far too late. The jungle turned violent. Earthborn soldiers rose from the mud, emerging like revenants. Blades first. No gunfire, just soft thuds, snapping bone, muffled screams. Reese drove his combat knife into the base of a scaled neck, twisted, dropped the body, moved on. One enemy panicked, fired wildly. A pulse bolt seared the air where Reese had stood a moment ago. The shooter didn't get a second shot. Rain tackled him into a pool of acidic slime. The hiss of flesh echoed for a heartbeat. Clean, Reese muttered. In under 6 minutes, it was over. The clearing looked like a forgotten altar. The enemy squad had been wiped out, most never even realizing they were under attack. Reese surveyed the scene, unshaken. This wasn't victory. It was necessity. Back at camp, the bodies were displayed, ritualistic, deliberate. Hanging in trees. Weapons placed neatly in front of them. Eyes open. It wasn't madness. It was the message, don't follow us. Marshal Vyrek arrived just before dusk, carried on a skimmer platform with 6 guards. His expression was unreadable, but his tone cut like acid. This display is unauthorized. Reese stood straight. It was tactical psychology. The locals fight with fear. We responded in kind. Vyrek's gaze sharpened. You're not strategists. You're fodder. You obey. You do not interpret. Reese didn't blink. They ambushed us with superior numbers. We adapted. One of the alien aides stepped forward. Sir, the results were effective. 0 human casualties. Local insurgent cells are retreating into deep zones. That's not the point. Vyrek snapped. He stepped closer to Reese. You're becoming symbolic. That makes you dangerous. Control breeds fear. And I see less control every cycle. Reese held the marshal's stare. Or maybe you're starting to see what happens when you corner a species that didn't start this war, but knows how to finish one. Silence. Vyrek turned without another word and departed. That night, Reese sat alone again, near the outer perimeter. He barely noticed the storm rolling overhead. Veltrax's sky always looked like it wanted to swallow the world. A sharp chirp from his encrypted pad broke the stillness. A message. No sender. Directive 17 is real. Your existence is temporary. Their patience is shorter. Don't trust silence. KT. He froze. Directive 17. It was more than rumor, more than soldier talk. It had become a myth among Earthborn units, whispers of a hidden Imperial file categorizing humanity as a genetic outlier, a problem to be solved once no longer useful. Reese's hands tightened. He keyed in a search using the DroneNet link. Denied. All Imperial archives marked the file as classified at Omega clearance, restricted to Grand Marshals and High Counselors. He stared into the jungle. They were going to erase them. The next day, Reese called an unofficial meeting with his squad leaders, Rain, Valdez, Moreno, Taggart. They met in a shallow depression camouflaged by fungal growth. We're not safe, Reese said. This isn't about the mission anymore. We're disposable. Valdez nodded. You think this is it? The cleanup? It's starting, Reese replied. Vyrek's nervous. He doesn't want us succeeding too well. Terrans don't fit in the narrative anymore. Taggart growled. Let them try. Reese glanced around the circle. From now on, no blind obedience. We follow orders, but we survive first. Moreno leaned in. What about the other Earth units? If they're moving on us, we need to warn them. We will, Reese said. One at a time. Quietly. He pulled out the chip with Coral's message. And we've got help. 2 days later, another squad was sent into Sector 9, an area previously deemed cleared. 30 minutes after deployment, comms went dark. Reese's team arrived too late. Smoke. Ash. No survivors. But the wounds on the bodies weren't from enemy weapons. They were from Imperial plasma rifles. One Terran trooper, still breathing, whispered before he died. Blue armor, friendly colors, lied to us. Reese closed the man's eyes. This wasn't cleanup. It was culling. The storm arrived early. A green-black torrent rolled across Veltrax's jungle canopies, slicing the treetops like knives. Rain hammered down in sheets so dense they blurred the world into smears of motion. Commander Reese stood at the edge of a ruined comms relay, watching it all from the broken skeleton of a tower the Empire never repaired. His boots were ankle-deep in sludge, but his mind was elsewhere, on the message that refused to leave his screen. Directive 17. Contingency for termination of Class A predator species, Homo sapiens. There it was. No rumors, no myths. Just raw, unambiguous text from the Empire's deepest archive. The file had arrived via a blind uplink routed through 7 abandoned satellites, and encoded in a language older than the Republic. Coral Threx had been right. The warning was real. Rhys's jaw clenched. He didn't need to read the whole document to know its meaning. The Empire had no intention of letting humanity become anything more than a temporary asset. Use. Discard. Forget. Not this time. Inside the Earthborn perimeter, the air was tense. Every face had sharpened over the last few cycles. Less soldier, more survivor. Their gear was dirtier, their expressions more distant. No one asked about the unit from Sector 9 anymore. Everyone knew. Rhys gathered his lieutenants beneath a collapsed shuttle wing, their unofficial meeting space. The metal roof pinged softly with the rain. Rain, Taggart, Valdez, and Moreno circled around him, each carrying a sidearm, even in camp. "We have confirmation," Rhys began. "It's not paranoia. It's policy." He passed around a hard copy of the file. Each one read it without comment, only tight nods and set jaws. "They classify us as Class A predators," Rhys said. "Too independent. Too efficient. Threat level marked as infiltrative evolutionary anomaly. They believe we'll outgrow their leash." Rain laughed once, bitter. "They're not wrong." Moreno lipped up. "So what's the play? Full mutiny?" "Not yet," Rhys said. "But no more blind trust. No more frontline missions unless we set the rules." Taggart spat. "We hold position, they get suspicious. We obey, they erase us. We do both," Rhys said. "We stay just useful enough to avoid elimination. Meanwhile, we prep. Quietly. Spread the word to other Earthborn squads, encrypted, face-to-face only. No comms. No data trails." Valdez frowned. "We make allies?" Rhys hesitated. "No. No one's coming to help. Not the other species. Not Earth's governments. This isn't a rescue plan. This is containment. We burn quietly, or we explode." 2 nights later, an alien supply convoy passed through the ridge trail near Outpost Kresh. Rhys and a small team waited in the canopy, silent, unseen. They didn't ambush it. They watched. Listened. 2 officers rode hoverbikes ahead of the main vehicle. Their conversation crackled over tapped comms. "Executed half the human scouts last week. Claimed they deserted. They always desert. It's in their blood. And the rest? Processed. Medical ships took the bodies. Disposal or dissection? Don't ask." Rhys pulled the team back. No engagement. The message had been clear. It was happening everywhere. Back at base, he decoded another message from Threx. This one contained footage, grainy, handheld, probably stolen from an internal Imperial feed. It showed a holding facility. Human soldiers, bound, sedated, dissected. Labeled. Every muscle, every organ. Treated like test subjects. Observed with fear, not curiosity. The last clip was a single frame, a note scrawled into a digital pad near the observation window. Asterisk. Too adaptable. Too aggressive. Kill quietly. Asterisk. Rhys felt something in his chest snap, not rage, but clarity. Later, he met Threx face to face for the first time. They found each other in the ruins of a long-abandoned weather station, its metal walls overtaken by moss and creeping roots. Threx was smaller than Rhys expected, frail, half-limping, but sharp-eyed. His breathing was ragged, but his voice cut clean. "I told them," the old veteran said. "Back when I watched your kind dig bullets out of your own legs and laugh. I warned them what Earth made." Rhys handed him a nutrient pack. "They called you insane. They still do. You knew about Directive 17? I leaked it. Reese nodded slowly. Why help us? Threx looked him in the eyes. Because I saw your dead carry wounded, even when you could have run. Because I watched a human bite through metal cuffs just to keep fighting. Because I owe your kind my life. He held out a data pad. This is their contingency schedule. Every Earth-born unit marked for reduction. Yours included. Yours soon. Reese took it. Thank you? Threx grunted. Don't thank me. Burn their sky. Back at camp, Reese didn't sleep. He scanned the pad's data, cross-referenced it with recent deployments. The pattern was undeniable. Earthborns were being rotated to isolated sectors with no support and minimal intel. Death zones. The next rotation was scheduled in 3 days, Reese's unit. He stepped out of his tent and looked at the fires burning in shallow pits around camp. His men sat in silence, eyes hollow, sharpening weapons out of instinct. No one trusted tomorrow. Reese spoke quietly, just enough for Rain beside him to hear. We fight them from the inside. 1 unit at a time. No war cries. No glory. Just survival. Rain nodded. The jungle's already on our side. Reese looked up at the sky, past the clouds, toward the stars filled with liars in gold uniforms and false promises. They wanted predators, he said. Now they have them. 3 hours before the scheduled rotation, Reese stood at the edge of the jungle, arms crossed, eyes narrowed at the Imperial gunship dropping into the clearing. Its hull shimmered in polished chrome, pristine and cold, like everything about the Empire. Behind him, his unit waited in silence. Not in formation. Not with salutes. Just standing, quiet and ready. Valdez approached from the shadows. Marshal Virex coming down in person. Escort detail. 10 soldiers, 2 drones. Reese didn't look away. He doesn't trust the poison to work on us. Wants to watch it himself. Valdez spat. Let him watch. The marshal disembarked moments later. He was draped in ceremonial armor, a cape trailing behind him, symbols of victory etched across his chest plate. He moved with practiced arrogance, flanked by guards and exocets. He stopped just outside the perimeter, helmet off, face pale and severe. Commander Reese, he called. Step forward. Reese did. Orders have changed, Virex said. You and your unit are being relocated to D sector. Immediate departure. No delay. Reese raised an eyebrow. That's a dead zone. No survivors reported in 6 rotations. That's why we're sending you. There it was, no more masks. Just cold extermination. Reese smiled faintly. Acknowledged, Marshal. We'll prepare immediately. Virex turned to leave. Don't delay. The moment the ship vanished, Reese gathered his lieutenants beneath the jungle canopy. They want us dead. That's no longer speculation. It's strategy. Rain asked. We moving tonight? Reese nodded. But not to D sector. Taggart grinned. Finally. Reese unrolled a map of the base, specifically the Imperial Command Relay on the plateau 2 clicks west. We take the command hub. Knock out their field comms. We go dark, they panic. Then we transmit everything, Directive 17, the facility footage, Threx's logs, to every outpost and system beacon in range. Moreno frowned. And the orbital cannons? Reese locked eyes with him. We disable them. Threx gave us the codes. Valdez chuckled. He really did want revenge. He earned it, Reese said. We're not starting a war. We're ending a lie. By nightfall, the jungle swallowed them whole. Moving in tight silence, they crossed terrain Imperial sensors rarely scanned, deep-rooted swamps, fungus-covered cliffs, tunnels hollowed out by burrowing creatures. Reese led from the front, steps deliberate. No comms. Just signals. At the ridge, they saw it, the command relay. A towering spire lit in faint green, encased in alloy walls and guarded by 2 watchtowers. No alarms. No sign of trouble. Perfect. They hit fast. Valdez and Rain scaled the outer towers with climbing talons, disabling the sentry drones before the second rotation completed. Inside the walls, Taggart planted EMP nodes on the rear generator while Reese and Moreno entered through the maintenance shaft. 2 guards spotted them. A heartbeat later, both were down, one choke silent, the other's throat opened by a hand-forged blade. In the control center, Reese pulled the datapad from his chest plate and plugged it into the console. Files flooded the system: video logs, intercepted orders, species rankings, eugenics charts, vivisection footage. He keyed in the broadcast override code Threx had given him. A chime. Transmission ready? Reese tapped the pad. A blue light pulsed, and the room filled with the voice of an Imperial scientist. Subject species: Homo sapiens. Exceptional survival traits. Problematic independence. Recommending full termination post-conflict cycle. Then images. Earth-born soldiers left to die. Vivisections conducted in silence, entire regiments erased from rosters. Reese added one final message, his voice calm, focused. This is Commander Jackson Reese. We are not tools. We are not mistakes. We are the result of a planet that survived itself. You used us. Now you answer for it. He sent the signal. The galaxy would hear it. Alarms flared. Exterior klaxons screamed. The relay doors burst open. Imperial troopers stormed in, led by Vyrek himself. His eyes locked on Reese. You traitor. Reese stepped forward. You should have killed us while we still believed in orders. Vyrek raised his plasma pistol. You've doomed your kind. No, Reese said, voice steady. I've introduced them. He moved first. The room erupted. Reese dove behind the console as rain fired from the tower's shadow, dropping 2 guards. Taggart hurled a makeshift explosive into the corridor. The blast sent shrapnel through the ceiling. Screams followed. Vyrek charged through the smoke, weapon drawn, rage contorting his features. Reese met him head-on. They clashed, alien metal against Terran steel. Vyrek's strikes were fast, trained, but Reese was something else. Efficient, brutal, quiet. They broke apart. Blood dripped from Reese's brow. Vyrek hissed. I've killed your kind before. Reese gritted his teeth. You've never fought one who knew why he was dying. He sidestepped, ducked under Vyrek's blade, and drove his knife into the marshal's chest. Once. Twice. Then silence. Vyrek collapsed, face twisted in disbelief. Reese stood over him, breathing steady. Minutes later, the orbital cannon control was breached. Valdez entered the codes. One by one, the Empire's skyborne weapons powered down. Earthborn units across Veltrax II, those still alive, received the signal, we are free. Ships above began to shift course. Some fled. Others descended, uncertain of their orders, their loyalty shaken. In the final hours before dawn, Reese climbed to the peak of the relay tower. Smoke curled around the jungle. The Empire's banners were gone. What remained was ruin, and something new. A signal echoed across systems. The message played on loop. Other alien species listened. Some were afraid. Some were intrigued. A few saw opportunity. Taggart joined Reese at the top. Think they'll come? They always do, Reese said. He looked skyward into the black, where stars blinked like uncertain eyes. We're not soldiers anymore. What are we? Reese's expression didn't change. An introduction.